Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a very big snowstorm for portions of the Northeast. Areas along the coast could be getting up to an inch or so of snowfall. Areas just inland could be getting as much as half a foot to 8 inches or so of snowfall. We're also going to be dealing with brutal cold conditions, and all of this will be happening the day before Halloween, and those cold conditions will actually come the day of Halloween, where you could have some temperatures as far south as parts of the coastal Northeast and parts of the mid-Atlantic down into the 20s, and as you get just inland you might even have some temperatures approaching zero. So we have a very chilly and cold pattern that's supported by many models, and we're going to be going through some of those models. No official snowfall forecast from me in today's video. We're just going to be looking at the models right now. The models are kind of all over the place with this storm, so that's the reason I don't have a official forecast just out right now, but I will most likely have one for tomorrow's video or maybe the video after that, just because of how much uncertainty there is with this event. Now here's the current National Weather Service page. Winter weather advisories for portions of Montana as well as much of the southern plains and parts of the Four Corners, and that's all of those areas shaded in the purple. Ice storm warnings in effect for parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Freeze warnings in effect for portions of the Southwest as well as a little bit of Texas. Hard freeze warnings in effect for portions of Arizona and Texas, with some winter storm warnings in effect for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado. We also see some high wind warnings in effect for portions of California, Arizona, and Nevada, as well as some wind advisories for parts of California, and also some blowing dust advisories in effect for Arizona and California. Red flag warnings in effect for much of the southwestern United States, as well as some frost advisories and some hard freeze warnings in effect for southern California. So quite a lot of watches and warnings for the southwestern quarter of the United States, not so much for the rest of the United States, where you're not dealing with too much in the way of watches and warnings. Now, here is the chances from the Weather Prediction Center that you see over a quarter of an inch of ice, sleet, or snow on Friday, October 30th, going into Saturday early on the morning on Halloween. So we have anywhere in that white where you're not shaded with anything under a 10% chance. In the light green, 10 to 30% chance, 30 to 50 in the dark green, and you see over portions of the Northeast, much of the Northeast indicated under a 10 to 30% chance, and these amounts will definitely go up over the next few days. And then we even have a 30 to 50% chance for parts of Vermont and New Hampshire in those higher elevation regions, and those amounts will certainly go up over the next few days. Now let's start off with our first model. A couple of the main models that we're going to show is the GFS, the second model, the GFS Parallel Model. We'll also look at the Canadian, the German, and also the European model in just a little bit. So we see, starting off with the GFS model, this would be late on Thursday going into Friday, some mixing of snowfall in the higher elevations of upstate New York, and then as we switch to Friday morning, as that cold air is suppressing further to the south, your 32-degree line is probably right around here, but your snow is put a little bit further to the south, and mainly in rural and forested areas where you can get a little bit colder temperatures, and also in those higher elevation regions and areas away from the coast, you're seeing much snowfall for those regions where you could be seeing maybe accumulation of 1 or 2 inches per hour in some of these heavier bands. Here would be by Friday morning as you're waking up and you're starting to see some snowfall linger for portions of southeastern New England and through parts of upstate New York and Pennsylvania, and you might even see a little bit of lake effect later on Halloween for those regions, so definitely something to keep an eye on. Here would be by Friday afternoon and evening, you're still dealing with some snow showers for portions of, this will actually be the early afternoon, and portions of southern New England and parts of upstate New York, Pennsylvania, even parts of New Jersey there, seeing some snowfall amounts. They would be quite late to moderate, but still snowfall nonetheless, and this is about a month and a half in advance of when you should typically see your first snowfall if this were to play out for some of these regions. And then of course this goes away probably in the evening hours of Friday. Now here here would be your total snowfall from the GFS model and what it's showing, and we're seeing in the grays anything to about 2 inches of snowfall, 2 to 6 inches in the blues, and for future reference, the purples are 6 to 10 inches. So we see a couple pockets of 2+ inches, and you see that dusting line gets fairly far to the south into parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and much of southern New England. And then you see most of the bulk of that precipitation is over central New England, and then into parts of upstate New York and maybe even northern Pennsylvania. Now, why this is happening? Because we have those very cold temperatures in place. Here are your low temperatures on Saturday. So this would be Saturday morning what your low temperatures are, and we're dealing with temperatures that are in the teens and even single digits in parts of Pennsylvania and upstate New York. And that 20-degree line is fairly far to the south. Anywhere in the reds, that's where you're below about 30 degrees or so. So you do see some very cold temperatures, and these are going to be maybe the coldest temperatures of the season so far. And here are your wind chill temperatures, and they are going to be in the teens, single digits, and maybe even a couple of below zero wind chills over portions of upstate New York and Pennsylvania. So that's why we have so much snowfall and cold air in the atmosphere. Now, here would be by late on Thursday, getting into Friday morning. The Gfs Parallel Model is what we're looking at right now, and this is probably the most robust of any of them. I don't think this is a likely solution, but I want to give you guys all of the data and information. We're looking at parts of northern New England and upstate New York, looking at quite a bit of snowfall. And then as we get to Friday morning, as you're waking up, a lot of that snowfall over portions of northern and central New England, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all of those regions looking at quite a bit of snowfall, and maybe even a couple of areas of icy precipitation. And then as we get into Friday, early afternoon, heavy snowfall for portions of southern New England and much of the Northeast. Now, getting down into the mid-Atlantic states, you're getting into some of that snowfall, and then it starts to switch over to rain, snow, showers as we get into the afternoon hours on Friday. So this would be as the sun is starting to set, and make sure that you guys set your clocks back this weekend, because this will actually help with some of those colder temperatures to arrive a little bit earlier with the storm. So you'll actually probably see a little bit more snowfall just because of that, because it'll be a little bit darker. And then as we continue forward, it starts to head out. Now here would be the snowfall totals for this event, and in the blues, that's anything to about 3 inches, 3 to 6 in the purples, 6 to 12 in the pinks, 12 to 24 in the greens, and we do see a little bit of that in parts of central New England, and you could really see over central New England and upstate New York and Pennsylvania, and even getting into New Jersey, you see those 6+ inch amounts. Now, I don't think this is a very likely solution. Let's start looking at what the Cmc model, the Canadian model, is showing, and I think this is a fairly reasonable outlook. Here would be by Friday early in the morning, and then as you're waking up, that snowfall heading further to the south because of that high pressure up in Canada, which is moving further and further to the south, pushing that cold air further to the south. So here's your 32-degree line, and then you're seeing rain further to the south, snow further to the north of there, and that's mainly how your system is setting up. You have that offshore low pressure system that's being pushed out to the east, and it's going to be a matter of whether you can get enough cold air in time to get the precipitation in, where you might even get a little bit of a switch over to snow along the coast. Here would be by Friday early afternoon, and then as we get to the evening hours, it's pretty much all said and done with. Here's what the Canadian model shows in terms of snowfall, and you see it's not a lot. Mainly it's just under an inch or so for the areas further to the south, but then as you get into, of course, central New England and upstate New York, you guys are getting closer to 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Now, here would be the German icon model, and then we'll look at the European model and a couple of other snowfall outlooks. Here would be this would be early on Friday morning, and then as we're getting to Friday, still the sun hasn't risen by this time, but you're probably right around 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And then we're looking at when you're starting to wake up by this point, and quite a bit of heavy snowfall moving through northern New England, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and then as we continue forward, that rain snow line moves further to the south, and you see it reaches all along along the coast, and as you get just inland of the coast, that's where you're getting the heaviest snowfall. And then you start to see that snowfall maybe setting in for maybe closer to 6 or 12 hours along the coastal areas where you're seeing snowfall. So this could potentially be a major event. Here's what the icon model puts out for that snowstorm, and we're looking at a large area of 6+ inches. And again, I don't think this is very likely, but I just want to give you guys all the information. 2+ inches in that blue, which is still for much of New England, as well as upstate New York and Pennsylvania. And then we see that dusting line getting into New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and then back up through the Ohio Valley. Now, here is the European model and what it's depicting for this storm. And we start off with a little bit of mixing, and the European model is further to the south than many models. Here would be by Friday morning, and we're looking at a lot of the heavy snowfall setting up earlier than it was looking like in many of the other models. Snowfall for portions of central New England, central upstate New York, and northern Pennsylvania. And then as we get into Friday afternoon, early afternoon, we're looking at some of those colder temperatures reaching the coast. That red line is your 32-degree line. So anywhere inside of that 32-degree line is where you're below 32 degrees. Anywhere outside of there, you're above 32 degrees. And notice that your rain snow line is actually ahead of those 32-degree temperatures. So you're actually looking at some 33, 34-degree temperature readings as you're seeing snowfall. And that's because in the higher elevations of the higher parts of the atmosphere, you're actually dealing with colder temperatures, and there's not enough time for that snowflake to melt, so it's actually reaching the ground as a snowflake, probably not accumulating, but still a very nice sight to see. Now here would be by Saturday evening, or actually Friday evening, and then as we're getting to Saturday morning, really all of this is said and done with. Now here would be your total snowfall for this event from the European model, and we're looking at a good swath of 2+ inches, and that coding line does get again fairly far to the south, where you do see some snowfall potentially into New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia there. So here would be a couple of the other models. The UK Met model, which is the English model, so from Great Britain. This is their model that they use, and they have a good area that I would say agrees fairly well with, I would say, probably the European model, except it doesn't have that coding as far south. But we see the bulk of that snowfall still over central New England, upstate New York, northeastern Pennsylvania. So if you live within that region, I think you have a fairly good shot of seeing 2+ inches of snowfall right now. Here would be and all of this is going to end probably Halloween morning. So as you're waking up on Halloween, it's probably going to be all over with. Here's the European Ensemble model, and you see that coding line gets fairly far to the south. This is an average of 51 models, and we see that coding line getting fairly far to the south. And then here's that 2+ inch area, which is over central and northern New England. And this is basically ranking the confidence of these models. Now here to be another model, and I believe this might be the Japanese model if I'm not mistaken. And we're looking at that model indicating 2+ inches for much of central New England and even parts of upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and northern New Jersey. And then as we look at another model, I believe this might be the Gfs Ensemble models, and we're looking at a general 2+ inches with a coding further to the south over parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And that would be the final model that we're going to look at. So those are a lot of overviews. That's a really big overview of what we're dealing with, showing you pretty much all of the models I could find and all of the models that I could showcase to you guys. So I hope you guys did enjoy that, and I hope you guys found this informative. I'll definitely be updating you guys on the storm, and most likely having my official snowfall forecast in tomorrow's video, including where I think the most snowfall will set up for the parts of the Northeast. So definitely this will be very exciting to see how much snowfall portions of the Northeast can get, and we'll also see whether it can get that far to the south, where you can maybe break some early snowfall records depending on how far south it gets. So I'll wrap it up here. If you guys did all enjoy it, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.